what if you could apply the logic of engineering to the complexities of love? I'm joined today by relationship expert Gabriela Embon, who reveals how to do just that. This is a particularly interesting conversation because Gabriela and I both have engineering backgrounds. And so we're here to share our take on some of these practical strategies to strengthen your relationship using the principles of engineering. This is Respected and Connected, the podcast that helps you tackle tough relationship challenges and create a more collaborative, intimate marriage. My name is Sharon Costanzo, and I'm your no-nonsense relationship coach. I've helped people just like you create stronger, more fulfilling relationships using the Better Marriage Blueprint. My mission is simple: to help you explore the complexity of intimate relationships, challenge your assumptions about what it takes to make it work, and advocate for the kind of relationship you really want. You don't have to settle for a lonely and unsatisfying marriage, and I'm here to give you some tools and ideas about how to make your marriage really great. So, Gabriela, the thing that I love to ask all of my guests when we get started is, what got you into this work of helping couples?
So I started as a life coach, helping individuals create a life of no regrets. And what I noticed as I was working with individuals is that many of them were struggling in their marriage. And when they were sharing with me their struggles, I was having a hard time, in a way, realizing or accepting that many individuals don't know how to do marriage. So I found myself educating more than coaching on that aspect. And I realized that there is a lot in me as an engineer, an advantage in the way I approach relationships, situations, goals, because of my engineering mindset, that I wanted to share that with others. And, when you have the desire, then I started attracting more couples and helping more couples until one day I realized that it's time to bring all that knowledge outside the sessions through my book. But I first started coaching individuals. Then they were sharing their challenges in their relationships. That led to more working as a couple. I would invite that person, I can help you if both of you are joining. Although I have to say that part of couples coaching, and I'm sure you'll relate, is working with each of them individually, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
It started with one and then it grew into two.
Yeah. It just, once you get a few, it seems like, and they're, liking the results that they're getting, and naturally other couples
that's right, because that's what I love about couples is that their energy is seen. When a couple is together, you can feel their energy. Right. So people are going to be asking you, what are you two doing, right? What have you been doing? There's a shift in you. We can see it. What have you done? Yeah. And then people share the results, and that's how it grows, word of mouth, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that we share that engineering background. And I'd love to hear more of your take on what's so valuable. I of course know what it's like to be an engineer and to work with engineers, and everyone I talk to who knows engineers is like, oh yeah, I totally know how, and I kind of relate to that engineering mindset. But how would you describe how that approach has really helped you work effectively with couples?
Well, I think the engineering mindset comes at a service of the human relationships, because as engineers, we have a vision of what we want, but then we accept that we are going to have to take action and put effort and measure and course correct and improve, do quality control. So we don't expect results overnight, and we also don't expect improvement or great results without doing anything. Mm-hmm. So we are former believers in having a vision, trying it out through a pilot, right? And then course correct and bring it into mass production, if you will, if you were in the production. So I think that mindset that everything that is worth having requires nourishing, effort, measuring, checking in, and course correcting is how it helps when it comes to relationships, because then we can actually create a process for couples to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, we find that some couples do that naturally because they feel in love. But what happens to the couples who don't feel in love? They say, I'm out of love. Mm. And that love that couples feel usually is during the honeymoon phase. And after that, love will fade, right? Until you rekindle it with commitment. So an engineer knows that commitment is required, whether you feel like it or not. You do what you need to do to create great results. That's the mindset shift that I like to present to couples, is that don't wait to feel the love in order to do the right things. Start doing the right things, commit to the relationship, nourish it, make it better, and then that will rekindle the love.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And as you were sharing all of that, so I'm an engineer. I have a younger brother that's an engineer also. And then we have 2 other brothers, one older than me and then our youngest. And I remember the youngest was talking about school and stuff. And he's like, maybe I want to be an engineer. And then he found out how much work it is to get an engineering degree and how like writing a lab report, for example, could take 20 hours or something like that. And he's like, ugh, I can't imagine doing that. But it really does. I think I like how you correlate those two. Like it's a lot of effort to get an engineering degree, and it takes a lot of that effort and persistence and doing hard things without seeing immediate results to be a successful engineer. And it takes that same thing to have a successful long-term relationship.
That's right.
Especially, I think, in today's world where we expect so much from our marriage.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We expect our partners to be almost everything for us. We also expect our parents when we are young to be everything for us. And I'm like, who told you your parents are going to provide for all your needs? Yeah, they will provide for your needs, the basic needs, but all your emotional needs. That's very unlikely, right? We expect a lot of things.
Yeah. Are you feeling stuck in a difficult relationship? Maybe you're struggling to communicate your needs or set healthy boundaries. If so, I want to invite you to check out my special offer for podcast listeners, a one-on-one coaching session designed to help you gain clarity and confidence in your relationships. In this session, we'll work together to help you understand your own needs, communicate more effectively, and decide on the healthiest way to move forward. To learn more and book your session, simply visit respectedandconnected.com/gridlock.
What I like about the engineering mindset is that we strive for better automatically. We don't compromise with mediocre, because if it's mediocre, obviously, if you're in the market, it doesn't do much. So that striving for better allows you to not compromise for, it's okay. It's not great, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. You won't have a job if you say to someone, the process is okay. It's fine. Could be better, but never mind. So I think that has been a guiding principle in my life, not just in my relationship, but even personally, not to compromise on less than what feels great for me. Not perfection, far away from that, but what feels right and great for me. Not to compromise on feeling that this is great. I'm putting effort, I'm seeing results, I'm doing my best. Not to fall asleep. You let a process fall asleep, the next day you wake up, you have an excursion. So the same happens in your marriage. And that is also very important, I find. That a lot of people compromise because they don't believe that it can be great.
Yeah, I like that you use the word great, because it's such a grounded word. It's not like this perfect fairy tale, endless honeymoon, but it's also not just like good enough. It's like if we can aspire to having a great marriage or a great relationship, then we can always be in that improvement mindset without expecting perfection, seeing that there are, bumps along the way, just like when you're developing a process in your engineering work or whatever the case may be, there's always going to be unexpected things that come up. I talk a lot with my clients about, I call it troubleshooting, just like we troubleshoot at work.
That's right.
Okay.
So important.
Yeah.
To learn to troubleshoot, right?
Yeah. It's not like, and I think so often because we've been fed this fairy tale story, we don't see that part of it of, oh, like something's not quite working the way I expect. What can I do about it? Rather than it's an all or nothing thing. Either I have to tolerate this forever or I have to walk away from this relationship.
That's right. I love that word you said, troubleshooting. I haven't used it much lately, and I think it's so appropriate for what we are discussing. Engineers see troubleshooting as part of their job to make a great product and as an opportunity. Not just I have to, not just like a burden, but really see the opportunity to discover something better, learn more about the product, which if we go into marriage, learn more about your partner. And the more you know about your partner, the more there's to love. The deeper the connection, the deeper the bond of trust, the more there is to love. So troubleshooting is not a burden. It's an opportunity to take the relationship to the next level.
Yeah. And I do think we have a tendency in marriage to look at the effort it takes to have a great marriage as being a burden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm wondering, how do you help couples, or how have you helped couples kind of make that jump from, oh, this effort is a burden to this is an opportunity to have a great relationship?
What a great question. Well, the first ingredient is not one that I bring, one that couples bring, is their desire to experience more. Right? We can bring that. It has to come from the couple itself, that desire, that understanding that the pain they're experiencing is an opportunity to clear and get to the next level. And so that's one, the desire for more. And then we can help them believe that it's possible and then show them how it's done. And there's great reward with that.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that the most important relationship that we have is with our partner, not with ourselves. Yes, you want to have a great relationship with yourself. And the first pillar is the me. So I'm all for personal development. Be accountable for your happiness. But the most important relationship we have is with our partner, simply because, first of all, we chose it. It's voluntary, unlike your parents or your children.
Yeah.
Secondly, because there are things that on your own you cannot see or possibly work on. You need that person that you're building a life with to trigger you to be able to work on those things. So your partner presents you with the opportunity to become a better person. And every troubleshooting is that opportunity. It's much simpler to believe alone, to be completely honest. And I had the privilege of supporting clients who were single when we started working because they were working on themselves. Mm-hmm. And then they got married and they thought, okay, I've done all my work. And then they got married and they realized that there's more work to be done. There are new triggers that are showing up that they couldn't see before. And of course, it will be that way because there's so much you can resolve when you are alone and so much you can grow when you're alone. But when you are with that person, that together, you are committed to help each other grow. You're committed to building a life together. That's a gift. Not having that person, it's limiting. Having that person is an opportunity, is a gift.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And it seems like the messaging that we're getting so much in our culture right now is that relationships are a burden, and putting yourself first is the true way to be happy. But I love what you're saying about how being in that committed long-term relationship gives us so much opportunity to grow and better ourselves, and also to enjoy that companionship and love with another person, which is what I think most of us deeply desire in some way or another.
It's the antidote to loneliness.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the antidote to loneliness, which is a huge problem in our society right now. And it's also so healing. It's the antidote to some of these generational patterns that we want to correct and pass something better on to the next generation. And we can do that better within a partnership than we can do anywhere else.
Absolutely. I think that when you are with that person, you are both committed to growing together and becoming a better person, so you can make it's almost like the commitment, I don't want to say forces you, but truly pushes you to become a better person, right? Because now you're living with someone else. You have somebody mirroring to you what you need to work on. And when you embrace that opportunity, it gives you wings. It truly allows you to experience sides of you that you wouldn't be able to do that when you're alone. It also gives you more freedom to experience more. It is limiting when you rely on yourself. But when you team up with that person, yeah, it's magical. And the ripple effect on society is magical. I was sharing with a friend that my mom needed something, and my husband came up with an idea that is quite a big effort to travel 8 hours to make that happen. And I see this is the ripple effect of a power couple, that not only you affect yourself and your children, it affects your extended family, because now you work as a unit, as a team. You care for each other, you care for the well-being of each other's families, and that has a bigger ripple effect in our society too.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the thought of it being creating something that's even bigger than the two of you.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that's when you have like that kind of idea of leaving a legacy. And really, when you talk about a couple who wants to help a struggling relationship, being able to see somebody who has accomplished it already is a huge benefit, and it just, I think, propels the work much more quickly. And I relate this back to, being a female engineer, and they say when women can't see other women doing math and STEM and all of that, it doesn't even seem possible, But if you see other people who are doing it, it gives you that hope and that sense of possibility.
That's right. You become a source of inspiration, like you said, of what's possible. And then you are able to truly mentor from experience, because it's not that, like you said, I met that person and overnight became magically. You build it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what a better way to serve than to be able to mentor from experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening to the Respected and Connected podcast. It means the world to me that you're here and that you value strong, healthy relationships. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast and you know that it can help others, please take the time to rate, review, and share the podcast so that we can spread this message and reach more people like you who are looking for help to create more intimacy and collaboration in their most important relationships. Yeah. And so all of this, you started out working with couples and then you wrote a book. Tell me a little bit more about your book and the 4 pillars in your book.
So the book talks about marriage from the lens of an engineering mind, right? Yes, we are describing 4 pillars, the me, the you, which are the first 2 pillars are about one person, the individual. And then the our, what's our, and then the us as a couple, as a unit. So the first 2 are about one person, you, your partner, and the last 2 are you together as a couple. And throughout the book, I explain how these 4, when we exercise these 4 pillars, we don't just understand them, we practice them, right? That's what commitment is. Commitment means that you do what you need to do to make this better, even when you don't feel like it, because you're committed to the relationship. So when we practice these 4 pillars, we are exercising that commitment. We are rekindling the love, the trust, the bond, and the connection. But the practical side of how to practice these 4 pillars is offered through the lens of an engineering. How I draw from my engineering background and the best practices that I experience as an engineer into the relationship to make it as practical as possible, to bring it down to very concrete concepts that couples can start doing. And that was the goal, that couples start doing so they can feel the effect of that commitment.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. Sometimes people say, well, my partner is not really into it. Well, it's enough that one starts to ignite the process.
Yeah. So tell me more about that, because I think often, especially people who are really invested in personal development, they see their partner as maybe behind in their own personal development. And they're saying, like, I hear this often. I hear from women, especially, they'll say, we can't do couples coaching right now because I need my husband to go to therapy and work on some of his own stuff first. What's your risk? You're saying, what I hear you saying at least, is that you can still be the one to ignite the process.
That's right. You do what you can. I think that when we wait for the other one, in a way, it might be an excuse for our insecurity or fear or not wanting to do the work ourselves. I say, you take responsibility, do your part, do as much as you can, and then watch the magic. When you become that light, you will draw your couple also to you, and they will want to do the work as well. It'll take whatever it takes, but you commit at least to do your part as much as you can. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think for some of us, maybe our work is being more expressive about what we desire for our relationship and not just waiting for our partner to figure it out. You know, there's lots of different things we can do to work on it, you know, letting our partner know if they are really reactive, how that affects us, so that, you know, they're not blind to the impact of their actions. But I totally agree that if you're focused on doing your work, I actually just had a session with an individual right before this, and she was talking about, you know, I feel like I'm doing all of these things. I'm doing the listening. I'm doing the validating. I'm doing the apologies, and my husband's not reciprocating. And the conversation that I have so often in that situation is what you're doing, and it's just what you're talking about with commitment. What you're doing is a reflection of who you want to be, not how your partner's going to respond to it. And if you really stay focused on that, and just like you say also, and let the results unfold a little bit more slowly than maybe you'd expect or like, you will feel good about how you handle yourself in some of these more difficult situations. But if you're waiting for your partner to catch on before you take the next step to be, you know, have that maybe higher moral character or those, you know, more mature skills, if you wait for them, then I don't think that's really a reflection of your best self.
I totally agree. And sometimes the relationship might actually end.
Yeah.
But because you've done your work, then you won't repeat this in your next relationship. So sometimes it's not meant to, the relationship is not meant to survive, but you were together for as long as you needed to learn what you needed to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that also. Like you can't, there's no like magic pill or magic strategy that will fix any relationship. But there are some core principles that you can use to make the most of whatever relationships you have.
That's right. I also love asking partners, so how is the fact that you're putting effort and your husband is not reciprocating or your wife is not reciprocating, how is this serving you? What's the hidden benefit of this? And maybe, and then you let people really sit with that question. Because if you keep attracting the same situation, right? What is it that you are never finishing to learn? And what is it that you need to tell yourself? I've learned this. I'm ready to attract different situations. Sometimes we haven't told our subconscious, this is learned and it's done. Please stop sending me the test. I already took it and I passed. So we need to kind of update with our intention and say, wait a second, I already learned that. What else am I ready to start experiencing right now? And maybe what it's serving the spouse is that they're mimicking their parents. Makes me understand my mom. My mom said, no man can ever make you happy or satisfy you. So how is this you doing your part, but your partner not reciprocating, serving you? Well, makes me understand what my mom was saying. Okay, are you done?
Yeah, it kind of reinforces some of those old beliefs, doesn't it? To perpetuate some of those patterns. And I think the way I look at it often is even when it's uncomfortable, it's nice to have a predictable relationship because you feel less vulnerable. But there's not a lot of growth and intimacy in that kind of relationship.
That's right. So there has to be a combination of examining our beliefs and the stories that we have created about marriage even before we got married because of what we saw or experienced or heard, as well as the doing part, doing the right things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I just keep coming back to your statement about commitment because, when I do research to kind of help educate potential clients and couples, one of the things I read recently is, what is the number one cause of divorce? And most people will think, oh, it's like financial struggles or disagreements about sex or infidelity or something like that. And it all comes back to lack of commitment.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, sometimes people ask, so what is the one thing that you cannot repair in a relationship? I'm like, nothing. You can repair whatever you want to repair. You will go as far as you allow yourself to go and you want to do and willing to do the work. There's nothing that cannot be repaired. That's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are committed, if you are willing to do the work and you're willing to invest and forgive and heal, then probably, unless it's a major thing, everything can be repaired. Like I said, unless it's, I don't know, violence or things like that. But if we are talking about the main couples that we see it, then it's probably everything, including infidelity.
Yeah.
And Esther Perel talks about that really well.
Yeah, she does. She does a great job of that. And I can't remember the statistic right off the top of my head, but I think it's like 2/3 of couples that are able to repair from infidelity. And, I had somebody on my podcast, it's been quite a while now, talk about how, and I think we've covered this topic a couple times on the podcast actually, about how couples who do go through that commitment of repairing come through some of these big crises, including infidelity, stronger than they were before. And I think it's what you're saying. It's the commitment to really working through the issue and not just sweeping it under the rug that makes it stronger.
That's right. Sometimes, and I heard somebody talk about that today, and I really like that explanation. the pain has to be big enough for the cleanse to happen. And if there an infidelity is a big pain, obviously, or finding out about it. And before that, you said it was easy to, sweep it under the rug, or the pain was like an IV, a drop, drop. But then when it becomes, okay, I can't ignore that. Mm-hmm. That's where the actually opportunity to cleanse the relationship and do things differently. And if both are committed, that's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to have. I mean, hopefully not through that, but if it gets to that, then through that.
Yeah, I think, just like you're saying, if we can do the work ahead of time and do some preventative maintenance, which is another engineering thing, to avoid that, it will definitely benefit and suffer less. But there's still always an opportunity, even in these big moments of crisis, to come back to and recommit to some of those core principles of what it takes to make a relationship work.
Absolutely. You were talking about preventive, and you brought again the engineering mindset. When I work as an engineer, I got to experience two types of production lines. In my first job, which I worked with organic chemistry, the product was fire resistant. Mm-hmm. And powders that are used as fire resistant in computers, plastic. And the product was being produced in batches. So every time you upload a batch into a reactor, you make the product, and then you upload a new batch and a new batch. And then you have other products that are, they are continuous products that you never actually stop. When I worked for Intel, that was the way. Mm-hmm. You're always uploading new, and the production line never rests. Although you also have batches, actually. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
No, that's a batch too. But you have reactors that work in a flow. The thing is, marriage is not a continuous flow. It's not that I started with love and that will carry the entire process forever. It's more like I have to rekindle the love, and a new batch and a new batch. So there's always an opportunity. Yes, we want to do the preventive and ideally practice marriage, actively do marriage development from the beginning, mm-hmm. so we don't end up in those pitfalls later. Or we're able to go through the second phase easier, right? That power struggle phase. But even if you find yourself exhausted in the power struggle phase, or not exhausted, asleep, because sometimes some couples, they are at that stage that they're completely numb. Mm-hmm. We can always load a new batch and do things properly and reignite the relationship and start course correcting and revive it. Mm-hmm. And then we will rekindle that love again and again. So it's never too late to experience more love. It's never too late to experience more connection, to deepen the bond. And there's no limit of how deeper you can go.
Yeah,
because I already know everything about my partner. No, you don't. We never know everything about our partners.
Yeah, they're changing and growing just like us. They're not the same people that we married.
That's right.
And that's a good thing.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of like starting a new batch. And I've worked in that type of an environment as well. And sometimes you test the batch and you're like, oh, something started to drift on the machine, so it's not producing good batches anymore. Let's go back and tweak and adjust that. And I think, we should expect that tweaking and adjusting. And one of the things I say with my clients often, we have different phases of our life and different seasons, even if it's something so simple as the kids going back to school for the new year, for the new school year, we have to kind of reevaluate how things are going and what adjustments do we need to make and expect that those adjustments will be needed and that we will go through that. You know, you call it like the honeymoon, the power struggle, and the power couple stage. Just assume that that's a normal part of things, that there will be power struggles, and then you'll get back to, we call it in relational life therapy, we call it harmony, disharmony, repair. You know, we go through these cycles, and it's a normal thing for couples. And I think power couples, the way you call it is power couples, I love that phrase. The power couples know how to repair.
That's right. It's not that they don't need it anymore, like you said. It's
Right.
just that they know how, and they know when they can spot when they're getting adrift and then bring it back and do the work that they need to do, and not be afraid to go back and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Have those conversations. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. I feel like I could talk to you forever because we have so much in common. But I do want to just kind of, as we wrap things up, tell us a little bit more about, you know, your book. What is the title of your book, and where can people find it? And I know you have an offer for the listeners as well related to your book.
Yes. So the book is called Becoming a Power Couple: 4 Pillars to Engineer Legendary Marriages. And it can be found on Amazon, obviously. Just Google Becoming a Power Couple or my name, Gabriela Embon. But I invite your audience, your listeners, to download the prologue for free. We can add that to the show notes. If they go to becomingapowercouple.net, again, becomingapowercouple.net, that will take them to a page where they can download the prologue for free, read the prologue, and then see if this resonates with them and they want to learn further. Then they can purchase the book.
Yeah. I've already started reading your book, and after this conversation, I'm even more excited to finish it. So thanks again for being on. I'm so excited to share this with our listeners.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Respected and Connected podcast. It really means the world to me that you're here and that you share my vision for meaningful, satisfying relationships. If you found value in what you heard today and you're ready for something more, click the link in the show notes to access more programs and resources to help you on your journey of creating meaningful, satisfying relationships.